Welcome, everybody, to episode 109 of the You Can't Comp This NBA Trading Card Podcast. We're your hosts, Adam, Amy, and Russell Gibson. Russell, the NBA preseason has arrived.
I was a little bit excited.
It was
I must
nice.
admit.
There was games.
Just a
like
little
it was
bit.
like check the app and it's like 2 days games. We have basketball. We have actual games to look at, and it's back.
I didn't mind the games they put on too. I thought that was a really interesting matchup, like two, behemoths underneath and then 2 point guards basically on the other end of the court. Like it was a fun contrast.
It was
NBA
interesting for
basketball.
sure. It was
I was glad.
a couple of absentees, but that's all right. They'll get some minutes as the preseason progresses. I believe LeBron will be playing minutes.
Look, why don't we
did Kyrie play today?
Why don't we just change the sheet up and just go straight into this, because it was good. It's good to talk about.
Sure,
right?
we can talk about the card ramifications. I just like to see basketball being played. Saves me talking about the NBA. Yep.
Yeah, totally.
First game of the preseason.
So I think, so for me, the takeaway was that why did the Mavs start 2 rookies? I don't really understand that. Like, is Jason Kidd trying to lose his job? Or is he just trying to prove a point that he can do it? I'm super confused about what they're doing there, because to me, Grant Williams is the ultimate sort of modern 5 where he can play big enough to hold it down, but they can stretch the floor. And then particularly around Luka and Kyrie.
I don't know.
And then, so I'm just looking at game 1. I only watched game 1. I haven't watched
the highlights
game 2 of this, because they basically played 2 games in Abu Dhabi. Yeah. And then it really looked to me that Kyrie really wasn't that into the game at all. He took 6 shots, 1 of 6 from the floor, 0 from 2 from 3, 1 rebound, 2 assists, 1 block. Like it was just ridiculous. I just did not understand.
I'm still surprised
that at all.
Kyrie was allowed to travel, let's be real.
So the part
around the world.
You mean around the round earth?
Yeah, well, if it's a flat earth, it'd be a lot easier to travel.
No, but seriously, so like if you look at their roster, it's actually a really interesting like breakdown now. Like I get they moved on from Porzingis, so I get that 100%, but what have they really, put into that space in terms of a big? Because the other guy they lost to was the center that went to the Kings this year.
JaVale McGee.
Really, what have you put into that? Like Derek Lively, I don't really think he's going to play 30 minutes a game this year. I reckon the maximum minutes a game this kid could play was 20. He just looks like a foul machine, like just a walking foul machine. So anyway, look, that was my big takeaway from it. And I'm still a bit perplexed about, what's going on. And look, and maybe this is the greatest overreaction to nothing in sports commentary history, because it's 1 or 2 preseason games. Like, they're going to change their rotations up. But so where was Rashawn Holmes? Like, if I'm looking down that roster now, they're big guys. So they got Josh Green, I think, could play more minutes. Dwight Powell definitely could. Markieff Morris, even though I dislike that guy immensely. Derrick Jones Jr. maybe could play a bit more, 3 and 4. But I actually think the one there is, Holmes. Holmes was really good for Sacramento last year. And if they want to win games, they want a veteran out there who's actually knows how to play basketball, and bring these young kids off the bench.
I will note that what happens, and this might be the reason that Jason Kidd loses his job. Let's be real. In the preseason, coaches tend to play with their roster in different ways, try to get a few not so real but real minutes in. Like everyone's just giving runs to the superstars. They might run out a couple of different lineups. It could just be they know what they want, how they want to start the season, but there's a few secondary lineups they want to try out. So, but you're right. The roster is a little bit.
Look, and again, maybe this is the stupidest overreaction ever, but it just didn't make sense to me. And there was other commentators that said, something very similar to that. But, the funny thing about Jason Kidd, I actually think he's a really good offensive mind. Like when he was when he coached the Bucks, he did some things with their lineups that was really quite
clever. Yep.
Experimental, and actually extended Giannis's career. And I think, I'm not saying Giannis has to thank Jason Kidd for his career, because like that's not fair, but you have to give him some. He wasn't credit just for that also
run of the mill coach. Like he did some very I know what you mean.
But then in his last stop, maybe actually this is like Kidd's pinnacles, that he's just the lead assistant coach off the bench and he just controls the offense. He's not the head coach because he needs someone to actually say to him, look, this is really bad for you to start Lively and Prosper at the same time. You're going to lose this game by 20 points. You know,
The main.
You know what I mean? Like, there's no one to sort of hold him back
True.
when he's got a crazy
this
idea.
time of the year is the time to lose crazy games, right? Do stupid stuff.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Look, I'm overreacting, but
we all know how crazy things can get in Dallas when they went from being a playoff team to not very quickly.
So, what did you think about the Wolves? That's the other team I think we need to overreact on.
I still think it's going to be a train wreck, and the Twin Towers aren't made to play together. But there were some positive signs out of it.
Yeah, I actually thought that Gobert and Towns played.
I feel like
really
they went to summer camp together and like they sort of learned to hold hands and braid each other's hair and stuff, and really started to get some chemistry, which is good.
Well, so this is the takeaway I had, that the ball was in Towns' hand a lot, and particularly at the top of the key, and they were sort of running action through him in terms of him being a distributor and a scorer, and I really liked that. And the other thing I really liked too was Gobert just stood almost at the polar opposite of where Towns was. Like, I feel like they've worked that piece out. So
it's
you know, I've been
it's like stretching the floor, but like rotating the posts, making sure that you're actually maximizing those towers.
Yeah.
And exposing your opponent. Yeah.
Look, I was very pessimistic about this duo, and I'm still pessimistic about. But in saying that, look, again, it's only 2 games, but I thought they did some things that worked. The other thing that I really liked from these guys was the pace they played at, because there was. I haven't got the statistic in front of me in terms of like their fast break points and their fast break opportunities. They basically multiplied that by 10. Again, it's a very small sample size, but and that makes sense. Like, if you've got 2 big guys can actually get rebounds, why not just run off that? So I think the one for me, like the big takeaway, I think, and we're going to do an episode about this in the next couple of weeks. Who are the guys who are sitting on the edges, the prospects that you need to look at and watch? And so I think Nickeil Alexander-Walker, the way that he played was just, was really good. Jaden McDaniels also played really well. And then the other guy that was really interesting, who, frankly, I'm like, I didn't even remember that he was in the league, is Luka Garza. So he came off the bench, 11 minutes, 6 of 13, 6 rebounds, 1 block for 12 points in 11 minutes. Like, I think
some props there,
guys like that. It's kind of funny. Like, if that guy plays 10 years in the league, you won't be shocked, because he's like a big enough body. He can shoot, really, really well. He's an NBA player. So
it's all good.
Anyway, Anthony Edwards will be back and playing more regularly. He did play in game 2. I didn't watch that game, but then the other game I think for us to mention too is the Golden State Warriors game and Chris Paul, because he was in uniform. What was your takeaways? I watched
highlights. It was good to see him get a run. He had an instant impact as far as no matter where he's gone through his career, he just fits in straight away. Like, he's the ultimate professional point guard. Like, he is. He's the perfect point guard, because he learns the system and just acclimates. And I think he's gonna fit in really well come the regular season in Golden State. My only concern is obviously his age, his body, and is it sort of, I don't know, is he cursed when it comes to the pointy end of the season? But it was nice. It was good to see him.
He's had some really bad luck when it comes to injuries in playoffs time. And I do take your point about basketball intelligence and putting smart people together. They just work it out.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's a real thing.
I think he's always worked it out.
The thing that really, the thing that stood out to me in the very small amount of highlights I watched was that he will get to the mid-range because how much shooting standing around him. And that's like his bread and butter, just getting to that elbow and getting those like sort of leaning, falling away jumpers up. So I don't mind that at all.
It was
all right. So segue back to the Mavericks though. From Card Ladder headlines, Luka Doncic was in their headline section of their next day auto. This is from Don Russ. So this is basically a case hit. And the idea of the next day auto is that it's the first autograph that you'll get from a professional that's on card. So it stands somewhere between Hoops and Prism, but these particular cards, I actually think they're better autos than Prism. So in my mind, yes, it comes out of Donruss, which is less than Prism, but the actual
Yep.
autograph card. So the case hits on this. This is PSA 10. That just sold for
Sheesh.
$20,700 US. So we're not
Pocket
talking
change.
a small amount of change here. Now, if you're looking at the card ladder picture here in 2020, that sold for just a bit over 5,000. So,
Wow.
that's a nice little 3-year little flip there. Population's
Yeah.
4
Yeah,
on
I think
that.
pop count's really important with stuff like this, but yeah.
Look, I think case hits are important, and yeah, I think this is definitely an important card. Look, I've enjoyed prospecting on low end case hits and
Yeah.
cards out of this set, but I'd also say too that the sliding scale on these cards is quite dramatic. So you can pick these up from $30, $40,
Yeah.
$50 Aussie for a low end one, but then obviously here like the big boys, go for a lot more money than that. So it is a little bit problematic when you start to collect the bigger names. So if you're looking at Luka, if you're looking
Yeah.
at Trae Young, that goes for a couple of thousand. The other ones also too is like even
Yeah,
Halliburton, like those ones, yeah.
Goodness. I don't know. I'm going quiet because it's Luka.
All right, you haven't said anything about his
He's early season Luka. He's going to put up amazing numbers. Everyone's going to like hype him up. He's going to be MVP of the league, and then in the second half of the year, he's going to do what Luka normally does and not deliver.
I'm okay.
Uh,
the funny thing about the West is this year it's going to be super competitive. So
yeah.
if they don't make the playoffs and if they keep starting 2 rookies, they've got no chance. Like the West
So I got
is
off the
just
phone
so
with Jason
loaded.
Kidd earlier, and he said he's going to keep doing this just to help me with my Luka. We're going to destroy Luka Doncic's career.
Unbelievable. Alrighty, so today was the hobby hangout in Sydney. So I hope everyone in Sydney had an absolutely fantastic time there. Now, if you would like to come along and see us at the Melbourne Hobby Hangout, we'll be there on the 19th of November. So at the moment, all the advertising from Andrew is just save the date. There's nothing more that we can give details on. But I'm very happy to share with you and everyone else that we'll be there and we'll be speaking there or we'll be doing a podcast there on the day. So, guys, we can't wait to see you all and see you, in the flesh and do our live podcast.
Awesome.
And please come down. I understand it's going to be in a breakout room. It's not going to be on the main stage, which I'm actually very happy
you would have
about
been worried
because
about how
how fastidious I am about the sound
been,
quality.
That would have been rough.
I'd be just freaking out all day. So this is going to be great for me. And then look, if it's a little room and there's a couple of chairs and people can come in and sit with us, that'll be be fantastic.
Let's be real. I'm going to end up having a question or 7, and I'll accost all of the vendors on the day with hard hitting questions as per usual. How would we regulate the hobby?
Yeah, sweet. Yeah, we can definitely do that.
Sorry, I'm gonna segue because when you said they're high end, low end with next day autos, Jason Tatum.
Talk to me.
Of course,
talk to me. What do you
got? Jason Tatum last sold.
Yeah, sure. Talk to me.
BGS 9.5 is what I got, but last sold for 3,820 in May this year, and that's USD, and it's right? A population of 21.
That's So that's about 5,000, probably like a little bit more than that. And that's what I was sort of saying about the big boys. They're not small change in that set. They do really, really well. Yeah. Alrighty. Probably the biggest piece of NBA news this week is Devin Vassell. He's re-upped with the Spurs on a descending contract. Now, this is not the first descending contract we've seen in the last couple of months. 5 years, $146 million. And I think this really raised or turned a lot of people's heads just for the fact of, how much they're paying this guy. Probably from my perspective, I'm not super shocked about it because they really hollowed out their team and essentially
I was going to say
this money on somebody.
The way the salary cap works is you've got to spend a minimum effectively. So like front loading this contract seems like a smart thing to do. It means basically,
Yeah, and front loading it is definitely good because at the moment they haven't got a bunch of salary on it, so that just fits into their cap perfectly. And then as the cap goes up, this contract just becomes better and better value. So I think in terms of risk and then retrading it, so that there's another person that the Spurs recently re-signed and traded was Trae
DeJounte
Young.
Murray. That's all right. Murray, Murray was
So
Murray was an interesting one though, because he was performing. He was an all-star.
They re-signed him and flipped him. Yeah, I think part of that was they cut the cord on the timeline. He just didn't, meet their timeline. But I think Vassell, even though he's he wasn't a young rookie coming in, like he's already 24 years of age. I still think he fits their timeline better than what, Murray did or does is like the main thing, isn't it? So look, I think now's a really good time to check out Card Ladder and have a look at what Vassell is doing, because this is not somebody that would immediately come to my mind of someone that is locked into the Spurs rotation. But I think if they're paying him this amount of money, well, then they're definitely going to be playing him for at least 30 minutes a night, right? And I think, like, where I'm going with this is, I think there's going to be a bit more heat on the Spurs this year, just for the fact of so many people are going to be looking at Wembanyama. So I think there will be a bit of trickle down to the other guys. So this is a really, really good one to sort of say, look, where is this guy sitting? And is actually now a good time to be jumping on and, having a look at this guy. Yeah. Yeah, this is super interesting. So this is 2020 when the price of grading was so ridiculously high. There's not even Card Ladder stats on this guy. For PSA 10s, it's only in for raw. So silvers are selling for about $10 a piece. All right. So this is a really, really easy assessment, and it's going to be a very quick one. This is just a straight buy.
Like if the guy's getting paid, and the undertone of that is he's going to get minutes, he's going to get opportunities. This is a team that's now got Wembanyama, who's drawn everybody's attention. So all eyes are on the Spurs this season. What do you like?
Yeah.
If he plays well, clearly, something's he's gonna get.
Look, that was such a short assessment.
He's going to come at us
it?
with the Ferrugia factor at some point this season. Yep.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and so I think. So where I would sit with him is that yes, you might get a quick flip out of it too, but I'd also look at that as sort of a 3 to 5 year thing when that team becomes really good. So if you're picking this guy up now for $10, which for me that's kind of my sweet spot, to be perfectly honest.
Silver's in that for $10 US
$10 mark
is certainly an interesting point, because we've seen when they spike, what happens is it's an instant $50 ceiling. You know how we put like floors and ceilings on players earlier or late last season, where we're like, oh, what does this player feel like? That $300 to $400 seems about normal. I think that initial spike, 50 US for those $10 cards, is when I guess the Ferrugia factor hits. So
sure.
It's interesting.
Now this is low hanging fruit, but I think we have to touch on it anyway. The other one to look at Spurs wise is Keldon Johnson, because he's also been re-upped. Now I think the ball is going to be more in Keldon Johnson's hands more than Devin Vassell's, but at the same time, I would anticipate that changes a little bit this year. So silver PSA 10 last sold for $55. Look, I don't think this is as much of a home run as $10 for a raw, but if you actually think about this practically, if it costs you say $30 or $40 to sub a card, you're not guaranteed to get it to PSA 10. By the time you pay postage on a raw, then you post it out to PSA and get it to come back. Look, the math is actually there to say, just buy a PSA 10 for this price, doesn't it? So I think using that sort of logic, if I've just said, well, $10 on a Vassell is a straight buy, well, then I think this Keldon Johnson has to be at the same thing.
I think, well, it's, and they're different rookie classes, but it's a similar concept, except he's already at that $50 point. But you're right, he's going to get a lot more of the ball. Like, I think he'll be given more duties.
Well, that's a funny point that you made, actually. So let's just flesh that out for 2 seconds. So the pop on this Keldon Johnson is 1,100. I'm extremely curious to know the pop on the Vassell, right?
Yeah, well, that's so maybe we've only got raw.
Okay, so let's stick with that. Yeah. So the only reason I could think is that the price of grading was so high and no one cared about Vassell, right? So
you can pick up.
Maybe that's a play. Then you get into Vassell's, get some low
for
pop
$11.50.
stuff.
You can get the base without the silver, I mean, the population and that's almost 6,000. But I'm not. Oh, that was a joke. I'm not buying. I'm not getting a base. I'm not getting a
No, it's
base.
totally fine.
But yeah, no, I think maybe
So
it's still Vassell that's got the potential anyway. Because what happens if Johnson breaks out and plays serious minutes? What's the best? Does it become $100 card?
look, I think I wouldn't say never, just for the fact of how much hobby spotlight they're going to get this next 12 months. But I would still say that Vassell and Keldon Johnson really, to me, is like a
Yeah.
2 or 3 year, because you're assuming that those three guys stay together and that they build something out. And that was the next guy I was going to segue to, because Jeremy Sochan is the other guy, but to me that's a stay away, because look, I like his game, I like his hustle, and I like his energy, but my problem with a guy like that is I don't think he's skilled enough to make it into a championship rotation.
Do you think it's?
And maybe I'm being
Do you
too
think
judgmental
we
here,
wait
but
and see and watch some of the Spurs preseason stuff to
things can change
this,
week to week. Like, and to be honest, I feel like even some of the predictions, we make, but I'm just where I'm sitting right now, and particularly if I'm looking for 3 years, that's how I feel about Sochan. Look, I think he's fine. If you want to, PC him, if you want to invest in him, prove me wrong. I actually, I've got no dramas with that at all. But for me, I think Vassell is like, that's the easy one. That's low hanging fruit. And then for me, the second low hanging fruit is Johnson.
And then there's obviously Wemby, but that's giant fruit. That's the
I don't
big
think
pineapple.
that's low hanging
That's the
though,
big
because of the
pineapple.
prices on it, right?
He's already there. He's a tourist attraction. Yeah.
Like that's a different type of low hanging.
Yes, it's the high budget, low hanging fruit.
All right. So this next segment, if you're not into this, guys, just fast forward a minute. So basically what I want to go through here is, on average, what is the average NBA player getting paid from highest down to lowest? And I'm going to read through the whole list until we get to Vassell, right? It's a very interesting list. All right, at the top, Lillard. I won't go through all the numbers because it's just too much. Anthony Davis, Jaylen Brown, Devin Booker, Karl Anthony Towns, the Joker, Steph Curry, Embiid, Bradley Beal, LeBron James, Jimmy Butler, Kevin Durant, Domantas Sabonis, Giannis, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Lillard, Doncic, Zach LaVine, Trae Young, Fred Van Vliet, because he got paid an absolute packet when he signed with Houston. Halliburton, LaMelo Ball, Anthony Edwards, Rudy Gobert, Kyrie Irving, Desmond Bane. That's interesting. Ja Morant, Zion Williamson, Darius Garland, Klay Thompson, Tobias Harris, Michael Porter Jr., SGA, Ben Simmons, James Harden, Pascal Siakam, Drew Holiday, CJ McCollum, DeAndre Ayton, Jason Tatum, Bam Adebayo, Donovan Mitchell, De'Aaron Fox, Jeremy Grant, Jordan Poole, Porzingis, Brandon Ingram, Jamal Murray, Chris Middleton, Tyler Hero, Chris Paul, Julius Randle, DeJounte Murray, Kyle Lowry, DeMar DeRozan, Wiggins, and then Devin Vassell. So, interesting list. Now, this is who is now getting paid more on average. RJ Barrett, Jaren Jackson Jr., Jalen Brunson, John Collins, Draymond Green, Anthony Simons, Terry Rozier, Cam Johnson, Buddy Hield, Bridges, Mike Conley, Deontay Hunter. That's crazy to me. Kyle Kuzma, Aaron Gordon, Dylan Brooks, Josh Hart, Jared Allen, Lonzo Ball. What are the standout names for you on that list?
There's a couple of odd ones. I say odd, but are they just the right time, right place? Like, you know what I mean? Like they're in contract year, and they just luck into it. Yeah,
it totally is. It depends, absolutely. And I think the easiest one to explain on that is like Al Horford. If you look at his total career earnings, he's earned like $200 million or something like that, because he's had a really good agent. He's played in the NBA for a long time, and he's just capitalized on all of his contracts basically.
But that
the funny one on this list to me, honestly, is Domantas Sabonis. Like, he is, like, I would say, overpaid. He's higher paid than Giannis.
Would you say
Paul
overpaid,
George,
or would you think he's actually paid
Luka,
for the talent he's got? Because I think he's underrated as a player. Sabonis is.
I think he's underrated, but that's he shouldn't be getting paid more than Giannis. I think, well, maybe Giannis is just underpaid, and that's as simple as that.
Why not?
Desmond Bane getting paid more than Ja is an interesting one.
Yes. Well, I don't know. I feel like because of the way the salary cap stuff's been going, it's likely to. That's the time and a place stuff, right? Like all the contracts that happened over the most recent offseason have been ridiculous contracts. Like you're hearing
Yeah, totally. Jaylen Brown's the obvious one, right?
and Brown's was that was earth shattering. It was like, but it's this rise in salary cap. So I mean, it's bound to happen. And when you're saying 146 million isn't a lot of money compared to other players, I guess it's bizarre.
I think the reason why I wanted to read through that list was just try and work out in my head, where
Well,
he
there's
sat.
not many players
Because I didn't really think he was going to.
He's obviously been flagged as someone of that caliber.
So maybe I should have done it the other way. Maybe I should have found him and then read underneath,
Go
like so
20,
who he's getting
20
paid
below,
more
20
than.
above.
So Aaron Gordon,
just to get an idea of where he's been.
So Dylan Brooks, Josh Hart, Lonzo Ball, Marcus Smart, like that's tough. Like Marcus Smart's a good.
Lonzo's an unlucky
player.
man, but that's injuries. Yeah.
And look, some of these guys are overpaid going down the list. So you've got Evan Fournier, who's way overpaid. Duncan Robinson, that's an overpay. Norman Powell probably hasn't worked out. OG Anunoby, you could argue either way on that. Colin Sexton, I think that's an overpay. So we're sort of getting into Lauri Markkanen, underpaid at the moment. Bogdan Bogdanovic. Lou Dort is on an $82 million contract. That's tough. 80, this is interesting. Davis Bertans, he's the last one there at $16 million a year.
God, it's not as bad as having Luol Deng on you.
Where's he?
I was going to say the Lakers are paying him again this year because he only finished up with them like 7 years ago. But they ended up paying him like $1 million a year just to get him off the roster, but to mess with his pay. Yeah, I don't know. Be nice getting that just randomly, like, oh yeah, that's right. Well, from when I was playing basketball, here's $1 million. God,
am I looking at this right? He's actually playing for the Thunder at the moment. Bertans. Sorry, I'm still fixated Dort's
playing
on
for the Thunder, isn't
how much this guy's getting overpaid.
Yeah,
Dort definitely is. Yeah, at least Dort can play, and he can play both ends of the floor, right? Like, I'm not horrified
but the caliber of play you're putting around, it's. I think it might be a good little cheeky prospect, Vassell.
Which one?
I think just so what he's getting paid.
Yeah, sure.
And you even just comping on those players, right? You're comparing him to those players. If that's where his talent's going to sit him, I mean, he's being paid as if he's that talented. He's not. He hasn't demonstrated it. So, but that's a good idea of the ceiling. That sort of say 50 to 80. Yeah,
for $10, I like that a lot.
You turn a $10 card into a $50 to $80 card, for argument's sake.
Yeah, sure.
That's not too bad. 8xing your money.
Alrighty, I hope you're hungry, Ad, because this next segment is definitely going to make you feel a bit that way. This is non-basketball at the moment, but I'm going to spin this into a basketball story. So, from my Twitter darling at Eric Whiteback, if you don't follow him, guys, get on it. He is very good in terms of card material. Breaking news: Topps is officially
crush.
Oh, absolutely. Topps has officially announced what the Tacofractor promotion is. If you own a Tacofractor of the first player to steal a base in the 2023 World Series, you win free tacos for life. The prize will be awarded as a $15,000 digital Taco Bell gift card.
I have thought.
So, how I was going to pose this to you. So, I think Fanatics and Topps are doing some interesting promotions. So, we spoke the last couple of weeks about the buyback on the bounty for the one-of-ones, which the longer I think about that, the less terrible I think that is,
as soon as you said they were paying effectively 10 times the market rate to bring those cards back, man, it's good value.
Like, what if they did that in NBA, in Prism, say? Okay, actually, let's do it another way. Let's say they did an Optic. So it's like a less of a set than Prism, but they made this set. Like, people would buy that. They would... there would be nothing left on the shelves. It would all be gone.
There are 50
select,
different one-of-ones.
Whatever. You know what I mean? Just like, that is true. So now there'll be two of each one.
Mind-blowing.
So, how do you think that they could do a promotion in NBA? Like, just sort of, let's have this a bit of a fun thought bubble project.
Don't they do it at the NBA, like, in the stadiums? You get 2 free tacos every time they get 100 points. All right, tacos for life.
No, I mean like doing like a buyback or, doing some type of competition or something like that, in cards, because I think this is a really good idea.
So the first play to steal a base. That's all they need to do is steal a base. Hit a free throw. It's just easy, but it's got to be in the NBA Finals because it's got to be in the World Series, right? For the baseball one. I don't know. Maybe just a free throw in the NBA playoffs. In the NBA Finals, not the playoffs.
Sure. Yeah, sure. Like the first free throw.
Yeah. The first free throw hit.
Okay.
I mean, the alternate
sure.
is the first technical foul. Get the Warriors there. I'd be chasing the Draymond, to be honest. Anyway.
Yeah.
I don't know. A free throw is the only. You can say field goal for steal because they're talking about stealing bases, so at least the steal is in the same vein, I guess. What do you think?
So, I've been thinking about this maybe more than I'd care to let on, actually. So, I really like the buyback idea. And they did a different one where there was particular rookies, or it was like a rookie set that they said you can take these into your LCS and then they will give you money back for them. So I want to roll this in a little bit of a different direction. So we all get these base cards. We have nothing to do with them. I've got boxes of them. I'm very happy to sell them to you for like basically $1 for the box and you pay postage,
because they're base cards, right?
Then you take a box of cards off me. Fantastic. Yeah. Okay. And then I also like doing chases. So what if you presented them your local card shop with the entire set of, say, the Sacramento Kings? And it could be either in a base or parallel. It doesn't matter. And if it's all in base, that's totally fine. And then dependent on the set, and then dependent on if you put parallels in or not, or numbered cards in or not, they'll determine a value. So just say you give them a set of base of the Kings, then you get, say, $5 back. But it has to be in store credit. So this is
economically
so
keeping
all that money
keeping the money into the same LCS effectively as well, right?
Yep.
So you're not. Yep.
Gets people going back to their LCS, and then actually gets people chasing and collecting sets again. And then, they have to do Facebook posts. Oh, I need this last card to complete this set. Then I can go to my LCS and I can go in and get it done.
Yeah.
I know this is like maybe too complicated and too hard to maybe to track. And there'll be some way that LCSs or, some Dero would, mess with it to like ruin it for everyone. But I kind of like that in that then you have to chase sets. It's got this kind of like, multiplier factor that if you put in parallels or you put in numbered cards, that will be like increasing the value a bit. And then you have to go, down to EJ cards or Cherry or, whatever it is that, you buy and sell your cards from.
What do the stores do when they've got all these sets?
Yeah, that I'm not sure about. But from what I understand is they actually got money back from Topps. So
it's okay.
So
they're kind of redeeming
and, get it back.
Okay.
So,
So there's kind of like a.
I might ask the boys at EJ Cards next time.
We'll be down there in 2 weeks, won't we?
So that is the perfect segue, Adam.
Saw it there on the run sheet and thought, you know what?
That was delicious. 22nd of October, they're having their next Traders Day, and I'm 100% going to be there because the kids have got a birthday party that same day, time.
And that's where the birthday. We're relocating the birthday party to EJ Cards.
It's like divine intervention that EJ put on a trade day for me on this day. So thank you.
People who are having the birthday party know that they're going to end up at a local card store.
Oh, I'm just not going to the party.
I thought you were going to. You could have grabbed all the kids from the party and tried to trade them. Because what time can kids be traded from?
Oh, that's right. Another great segue, Adam. There's a designated kids trading zone to staff supervise. There's free drinks and snacks all day, live openings, discounted singles, NBA mystery boxes, NFL mystery boxes. I'm sure there's going to be... Oh, here we go. It's right in the middle. The return of Carson's Monster Halloween mystery box.
It's going to be...
Look, get on down, guys. Look, it's always fun. Irregardless of the fact that, these guys sponsor us, it's a well-run day. They put a lot of effort into it to make it...
It's a lot of fun. It's a heap of fun.
Yeah. The other thing I wanted to start doing is finding something which I think is a good buy on the EJ Cards website. So I've just gone through, had a look through. I couldn't go past this. The Panini's Father's Day pack, 2 multi-card sport for $24.
Yep.
Fun rip. there is some potential in those, and yeah.
Ooh.
This next segment is a little bit of a funny one, just for the fact that I'm a little bit upset about this. The Card Codex boys beat us to it, but it was a Steph 1 of 1, and again, this is from Card Ladders, Card Spotlight. I wanted to talk to you about this because for me, this is a very polarizing card. So it's sold for 39,000 USD. It's a PSA 9. It's a black refractor,
It's a nice
1 of
looking
1.
card, actually. I'll try. Hang on.
Is 39,000 too cheap, too expensive, or just spot on for you?
It's a 1 of 1. But the question is, oh wait, hang on. What year is it? 2022. It's nothing. It's interesting because it's hard to dictate. You can't dictate the price point of a 1 of 1. That's the up and the downside of it.
Well, they put this to auction, so they let the market set it. They didn't say like, this is my price, take it or leave it. They were like, let's take this to Goldens.
It doesn't.
And even
at
PSA 9,
does it matter if it's PSA 9?
Like
it's a 1 of 1. Population is 1. Yeah,
that's another discussion. I think that's a separate discussion. Why do you buy the grading of 1 of 1? What are you going to get back from it? But I would actually say, my opinion is, yes, if it's a 1 of 1 and it's a PSA 10, that's still better than a 1 of 1.
Ready for
PSA
my
6.
Inception level segue?
You can't change my mind.
So,
yeah, sure. Go.
Why don't we bring our lovely friend Ryan into this and suggest that PSA use a 1 of 1 grading system saying gem mint? Don't have to put a number to it, just gem mint. It's 9 or above because it doesn't matter if it's a 9 or a 10. It's the only one in existence. Anyway, I like the idea of seeing gem mint on it and not seeing a number. That said, it'd probably be a bit off-putting if you saw a PSA, if it said 8. The PSA grade for a 1 of 1. And because it's not a rookie year, I guess there is logical reasoning to not pay a premium for it if it's a lower grade. How much higher would it have gone if it was a 10?
Yeah.
I feel like I'm just answering questions.
Well, the difference between 9 and 10...
questions at the moment, but...
No, and that's fine. But I would say at the moment, the market, there is a significant difference between 9 and 10.
Yeah, but that's cards with a population count, right? The population of this will always be 1. There's no 10s to compare it to. But in the market, the difference between a 9 and a 10 is sometimes 10 times the value. Does that mean this is a $300,000 card if it was a PSA 10?
I would say maybe 50 or 60.
I think it pushes up. It pushes 100K. There's nothing special about it. I feel like that sentence was very disjointed. Then.
Okay, so now you've said that there's nothing special about it. So does that mean that overall you think this card is overpriced, or the person's paid too much for it?
Maybe. 1 of 1s is so difficult. It's yeah. If it was a Warriors championship year, it holds more meaning. Was it though? It is, but it isn't. If that makes sense. I don't know. If it was from the Warriors championship run, I think it would hold more value. Like there's more sentimental value to it.
Look,
or if it had Steph doing his little go to sleep pose.
I think that's a good photograph. I think that's a good action shot. It's not the classic looking at Steph it going, pose, though.
Like him doing a jump shot. That's what we know Steph Curry doing, layups. That's him all the way.
Yeah, totally.
Like he's literally the greatest 3-point shooter of all time. So, but it's a really nice action shot of him. You're right.
So this is my thought about this card. I struggle valuing these cards because this is so far out of my stratosphere. It's all hypothetical, right? But just bear with me for 2 seconds. I think the person that bought this obviously values Steph Curry a lot, and this must be their main PC, if not a large part of their PC. Because you know what I mean? Like this is a large amount of money to put into one card. But I'd also say too is that also means that they value Steph Curry at a very high level. Because like you said, this is not a particularly special year or special pose. It's not a rookie card. It's not a patch autograph, blah, blah, blah. So where I'm leading with this though, but that to me has a trickle-down effect. So Steph Curry rookie cards, Steph Curry autographs, Steph Curry rookie patch autographs, blah, blah, blah. Are we not valuing these cards highly enough because of how special this guy is if there are collectors out there willing to pay this money for a relatively unspecial card, if that makes sense?
What makes it special is it's a 1 of 1, right? But
yeah, definitely.
Yeah, on the priority list,
Look,
I just
my
think
issue is
yeah.
it's not a rookie card, it's not an autograph, it's not game worn.
Correct,
That's
correct,
where
correct.
I'm like, this is where I'm
Yeah,
really
yeah.
struggling in my
So
head. Yeah,
I think the one of one factor is important, but I think the other things you mentioned are more important.
absolutely.
So rookie being a major factor when it comes to defining value. Game worn jersey or game worn material, on card autograph. So it's none of these things which are the key drivers for the value.
Yeah,
Now, when one thing I tend to look at always is the pop count. Now I know the pop count of this is 1, and that is important, but I think those other factors take precedence. And look, $40,000.
yeah.
I'm sure if we're talking to Joe Average on the street, the idea of paying $40,000 for a piece of cardboard is just preposterous, right?
Oh yeah, of course. The hobby is dead. I mean, like, let's just
But what we're saying
roll
is
out
it's
the
forty
coffin.
thousand
So
dollars for a card that's not a rookie card, not an autograph, and not
yeah.
doesn't involve any game worn material. Yes, it's a one of one.
Sorry, guys. If you're relatively new to the show, that was complete sarcasm from me, and the hobby is alive and well and vibrant. It's just the naysayers who are ringing the hobby
I
is
think the
dead
hobby
bell.
is dead. The fact that we're still around and we're going to be at the hobby hangout suggests the hobby is not dead.
Yeah. So my final thought on this card is that have we slept on Steph Curry rookie stuff? Have we slept on Steph Curry autographs? And are there other big guys who are stars of the NBA that potentially are going to be at the end of their careers, say, in that 10 to 20 all-time NBA player mark? So there's a couple in our generation.
Yes.
LeBron James,
Yes.
Steph Curry, and Giannis, right? Now, Matthew Yuga was on this. He was talking about this either on our show or on his own podcast, and he was right about this. He's like, at $1,000, I can buy a low-end Giannis autograph. Is that the best buy at the time? This is the best buy in basketball. And I doubt you could get close to 1,500 for a low-end Giannis anymore. And I wonder if this is the beginning of that, or maybe it's the end of that. This is a sign that this guy is going to, really blow up in terms of, hobby value.
Yeah.
That's what I take away from this.
I think this shows that there is interest.
On this
I think
guy
there's
the
a
last
lot
couple
of
years?
interest.
That's to me is crazy, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, I've got the perfect segue into our next segment, which is the Bang Man, who hit a Steph Curry autograph recently. So I might just play our advertisement.
We have a new sponsor supporting the show. It is the Bang Man, who is a new startup and have been operating since June this year, delivering a variety of hobby packs in a single box at an affordable price. So far, they've delivered some huge hits. The biggest one they've pulled so far is a Steph Curry Signatures Gold Auto to 10, which came out of the July edition. Some comps have been rounded up to about 15k AUD, which was verified by Card Letter. So if you're not familiar with what the Bang Man is and what their product is offering, it's basically an assortment of hobby packets put into a box at an affordable buy-in. You can then open a variety of different hobby packs. Some of the advantages of buying into a product such as this is that you can sample a whole bunch of different products. Another way to think of it is doing your own break at home. The advantage of the Bang Man's product is you are purchasing sealed, unsearched hobby packs as opposed to a single card repack product that has a huge range in value. Just to make the clear delineation between the Bang Man's product and any traditional repack, when you buy into a Bang Man product, you are getting the guarantee of the Panini seal, and then all of the hits that then come out of sealed products. So all the numbered cards, if appropriate for the product, rookie patch autographs, signature cards, and of course those super short prints and case hits. Another key point for the Bang Man product is that they have an assortment of different hobby packs in a custom box at 2 different price points, one being a gold edition and the other being a silver edition. Each month, the Bang Man changes up the pack so it's not the same constant lineup. For listeners of our podcast, we have an exclusive deal for you. Use promo code youcantcompthis to get a $15 discount off your next purchase. Find the Bang Man on Instagram, the.bang.man, and on Facebook, the Bangman. Thank you so much, Amir and Team Bangman.
What?
That was a long
one.
We
made
it.
And while that was happening, I was very tempted to go and purchase a pack. I'm gonna.
Don't forget your promo code.
The promo code. It's You Can't Comp This, right? Easy to remember.
That's it. Alrighty. 3 more things on the run sheet.
Well,
and I think we should call it quits, Ad.
It's been a good...
This is a bit of a quick one.
Oh, I like this one. I think I didn't see this.
Now, this is a mixture of 3 different things rolled into one. So the first thing you need to do is follow at Draft Express on Twitter. It's Jonathan Gavoni. The guy is just an absolute NBA. I imagine this guy is like a Tom Thibodeau when he was in his younger days, just like sleeping on the couch in the New York office. He never went home. He just was always at the Knicks office, just like grinding away. He does these amazing videos and write-ups about basically prospects and draft prospects. So this particular tweet is about Bobby Clintman, who is one of the players that's in the NBL on the Rising Stars program. So he'll be in the NBA draft next year. So instead of going to college or they go to junior college or something like that, now players are going to Europe, Australia, they're going to the G League to play in that. So this is part of that program. He did a really good write-up about him. Look, I think where I sort of sit on this is I've been very publicly not opposed, but I don't have a lot of interest in watching the NBL, but they're getting more and more NBA prospects and even ex-NBA players. This year there's Matty Dellavedova's come back. Aaron Baines is back. There's this kid, there's another kid that's also going to be going to the NBA draft next year. So
I think, you saw LaMelo Ball. LaMelo Ball
for
used
someone,
the NBL as his platform, right? Rather than go to college.
Yeah. For someone like me who's got no interest in NBL at all, like it's actually becoming almost appealing. Like I hate to say it. So look, definitely check out Jonathan Gavoni, and if there's NBL games on, check them out. Like they're definitely doing everything they can to revitalize and bring this league back. So are you a fan of NBL? Are you a fan of Jonathan Gavoni?
I haven't been following Jonathan Gavoni on Twitter, but yeah,
that's okay.
I do watch a little bit of NBL. And the league is getting a lot more competitive. It's, I don't know, it seems like it's becoming a respected league. You see the way Australia has performed overall, and I think that's being reflected in the way we're playing our basketball domestically. So the NBL is becoming a very appealing league, I guess, for players to find their place or prepare them for the NBA. This season was opened by Scottie Pippen, and I believe LaMarcus Aldridge was down here as well for opening week. Yeah,
I saw tea time there.
It was good. Apparently Pippen's coming back early next year, so I've got friends with fingers on the pulse to try and hook me up with a jersey or something to that effect, given that Scotty was one of my 90s PCs. Yeah, but the NBL, get on it if you've got
just as much.
If you get through all of NBA League Pass and you still want more basketball,
you watch every game, yeah, and you need more. That's
it.
NBL
get onto the NBL. That's it.
And probably go to therapy too. You've got some
unresolved
some
obsession issues with the game of basketball. Next on the run sheet.
This is from Ramona Shelburne reported this first. Joel Embiid, the NBA's reigning most valuable player, has committed to play for Team USA at the Paris 2024 Olympics, sources have told ESPN. Embiid informed Team USA Executive Director Grant Hill of his decision on Thursday morning. So look, when I read this and heard about it, I was like, he's just a front runner. He's jumping on board, but he actually has dual citizenship for, French and American.
Yeah.
So he was born with that. So immediately he's not a front runner, but then also he's lived here, the last, 10 or 12 years. His son was born here. And apparently the thing that Grant Hill used to psychologically or, convince him to come across was that represent his son. His son's an American citizen. play for your son, and so that was the thing that signed him over. So look, that is a huge, huge, huge signing for Team USA. But let's take it back to the thing that matters is card value. So I was looking this up today in prep for the show, and I'm still a bit befuddled by this. His silver PSA 10 rookie, population of 84.
Yep.
We spoke about this last week with Pops with Damian Lillard. MVP now. Last sold for $733. So if you look at his value over the last 12 months, he was actually up to $2,500. So it's come down significantly. COVID crazies, let's exclude this, but still we have to talk about it. It was $4,000 was the highest price. And then pre-COVID, it was selling for like 1.6. So even before all of that insane stuff happened, we're still sitting $900 cheaper. And in that time, he's won an MVP. What I'm posing to you is does this increase his popularity because he's pledged his allegiance to the American flag?
For the Americans. It'd have to, wouldn't it?
I think Americans are so crazy for their country that this to me seems a no-brainer.
Yeah, big dip off with the blue to 99. I'd be buying that. You know me, I can't help my color match. Pop counter 12. Last sold for $1,234. I know the $5,000 is COVID crazy, but I still think a long-term, I don't know.
I mean, that's all about budget. But if you look at the 9's sitting at 300. And I think anything that's numbered, I'm not saying the grade doesn't matter because the grade does matter. But at the same time, I think if you're buying numbered cards, then you just have to be prepared to work through the gradient.
Percentage-wise for the low pop.
If you can afford a 6, that's great. And just be prepared for it to trickle up, So, look, I don't mind the 9 at that price, to be honest. I think 10 is out of my price range personally. But
yeah, I know.
So I'm not going to put him in the same sentence as Steph, LeBron, and Giannis, but do you put him in the sentence below that? And are we sleeping on this guy too?
He's two below. Jokic is in the one below, but he's above Luka because he's won an MVP.
No, I just missed Joker from that conversation. I feel like Joker's
above Embiid. I don't know. I don't think Embiid's that. Maybe I underrate him. I think he's good. I just don't think he's. I don't think at the end in 20 years' time, people will remember Joel Embiid the same way they remember Joker, Giannis, Steph, LeBron. I think the phrase that comes around with Joel Embiid is going to be the process and then a chuckle, and then people will say it was over-processed and Philadelphia never succeeded. And that's being pretty harsh, but it's the success factor.
Look, the reality is what you just said there, I think there's a lot of truth to that. And how the James Harden situation pans out is going to influence the outcome of this guy's career, whether you like it or not, because that's not a young team they've got in Philadelphia. They've sort of gone all in. And this Harden situation is absolutely blown up in their faces in the worst possible way. So did you see that he threw a party and then had people holding up signs that said, Daryl Morey is a liar? So James Harden can't say it, but he can go to a party where people are holding up signs that say it. And
love it.
It's so amazing.
Oh my goodness. And you know who I feel sorry for right now? Nick Nurse. Because they're asking him like rotation questions and stuff with the preseason. He's like, I don't know what things are going to look like from night to night.
Nick's a funny dude, though, so I'm actually not surprised that he said, I don't know what the rotation's going to look like. He kind of just rolls with the media stuff.
He's this generation's Popovich, I think.
Maybe. I think Spoelstra is this generation's Pop. I like that dude. Yeah, I think that guy is crazy smart. Fair. Like, I look at him and I kind of almost think he's evil. He's that smart, like sort of pathological, like smart.
Like he learnt from Pat Riley. So, yeah.
You know, when you see those little kids who are like too smart and you're like, oh, like you kind of scare me. Like that's what I look like when I see Spoelstra.
That is fair.
Like, all right, last thing in the run sheet, again from Eric.
He does.
He does some good stuff, but it's, all right, the top 20 sports cards with the most PSA 10s in existence. So, Ryan, if you're listening to this, I actually emailed you about this today, mate. I want to get Ryan's perspective on this in terms of junk wax in NBA, junk slabs, I should say. So Zion is number 1 at 22,860. I'll just do the NBA ones because all the rest of it don't really care. Number 3 is Ja Morant at 22,300. Luka Doncic, 6,
Mhm.
19,600. Then actually, number 12 is next. Mosaic Zion at 15,000.
Revolution
That's
LeBron.
interesting. At number 14,
Prism
14,600.
LeBron 2019. Is that
2009?
No, it's not.
Yeah.
I was going to say it. Yeah.
13,000, nearly
Yep.
600.
Yeah.
So what's your takeaway from that list?
I think you can see exactly where when the pricing was just too good to resist and people were subbing all their base cards. Like you know what I mean? Like the flip was it's those cards from look, in that list, there's only one card that isn't from that 2018 to 2020 bracket. And that's
the really interesting thing.
So they're all from that period.
The 1989 Ken Griffey Jr. 13,000.
So there's an argument to be made that as junk wax, the reputation from the 90s about junk wax, 2018 to 2020, there's a lot of product.
I'm not sure that will ever be ratified. And what I mean by that is I don't think that information will ever be disclosed to people of actually how much they made. And then also, how do you compare that to the 90s when there was all these different companies?
The fact that you're still getting
that's going to be
plenty
very
of
difficult.
90s product means I'm sure. Look, that stuff was just crazy. But I don't know.
So where I'm leading with this is pricing, right? So where do we go with pricing? And maybe what we can take away from the 90s junk wax is the price of hobby boxes. So you can pick up a hobby box for about $100.
Yep.
$200, something like that. And
it's a lot of
still
fun to
readily
open,
available,
though.
right? Yeah. So Darren Rovell, it's great. You're not going to actually feel bad about spending $100 and having a couple of beers. Definitely, yeah. So Darren Rovell, with nearly 23,000 PSA 10s, it's insane that people are even paying $60 today for that Zion-based rookie. It's the poster child of the junk slab era. So I'm just going to connect those two dots together now. So I think with that comment and then what we just said about how much it's available with the junk wax, are these cards, is this list actually the stay away list of what you should not buy?
In a nutshell, yes.
So you
look
at that list and you go, okay, these are the cards that I should not buy.
Like I make the joke every time you talk about the Luka base, which is just under there. It's actually, why isn't Luka on that? Oh wait,
Luka's
the Prism
there.
one. Yeah.
Luka's at like
Luka's
13 or something like that.
I'm just showing the picture to everybody. Oh, there we go. Luka Doncic.
Sorry,
yeah, he's at 6. We can keep checking in. I'm sure he'll bump up the list eventually. But yeah, it's crazy.
So I'm just looking at the price on the
20,000 copies of a card.
So I'm just looking at the price. Yeah. So the Zion PSA 10 base is at $67 was the last sold. You know, the funny thing was, like a few months back, I was actually looking at these and going, this is not terrible a buy. But then when you hear someone who's, incredibly smart like Darren talk, take the guy's advice, don't listen to me, it's difficult to look at, isn't it? I suppose, I also wonder too, where do these bottom out at? Do they just become $30 AUD cards?
But you just basically, it's like, this is the price of grading it, so this is what Yeah.
They'll end up in
I keep joking about the fact that maybe a PSA 9's more important to get.
At EJ Cards and the hobby hangouts, It's at their future.
I definitely think they're not an investment. The hobby would have to be incredibly, incredibly robust for these to be an investment. Because it's supply and demand. There's so much. The demand would have to go up so much for these to hold value because there's so many of them. Because as soon as somebody says, I want a Zion rookie card, like what's the likelihood that 100 people put their hand up and go, yeah, I've got one. Do you want to buy it?
As opposed to an Embiid number to 99.
Yeah.
Hard to buy. Zion.
Yep.
You can
Population
get one anywhere.
count of 10, numbered to 99. I'll pay $1,000 for that. But I'm not paying $1,000 for something that's been mass produced. Even the silvers of these things, like there's 2,000. The pop counts are in the thousands.
1,600 Zions. Yeah. Last sold for 533.
And look, as I said, we covered this earlier with Steph. We covered this earlier with the Steph discussion. There are multiple factors to the value of a card, but the rarity of the card or the accessibility of it is crucial. Now, sure, Pop 10 is insane and great, but on the opposite end of that, 20,000? Like we assess a lot of players that their pop counts are at 800, and we're like, is that going to impact it? Like,
yeah, it's quite mind-boggling, isn't it? 20,000. It's sort of hard to get your head around.
I would feel
how
hard
many
done
of them
by
there
if
is.
I sent a Zion rookie card off for grading, it didn't come back a 10. Given how many come back as 10s. That also, like, oh God, what's the pop count on the 9s, and do we even go there? Do you know what I mean?
Can I tell you how divided on this in my head I am? So I'm looking at the numbers. I'm actually thinking to myself, if this guy pops off, they're going to go up. And I know I'm sick, and I know that's like the wrong thing to say, and I know Darren's right, but I still cannot get that out of my head.
Well, right.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I'm looking at the silvers. So the silvers are $533 at the moment, right? You can't tell me if he pops off, they're not going to rise.
Don't get me wrong. They are definitely going to rise.
You can't tell me.
But they're
but it's still like a bad buy.
They're not hitting.
Is that what you're saying?
But they're not. They're going to rise. They're 500, and the guy puts in an MVP season, they'll be a $700 card. But it's not selling for $5,000, $6,000 because there's just too much supply.
So between 2022 and just before 2023, they were holding strong, and there was a lot of sale data between 1.6 and 1.8, basically. And now they've just slowly trickled down since that time. So I was actually thinking that the new floor was going to be like 1.7, and now it seems like the new floor is basically $500.
I'm gonna do some quick math because this is.
Sorry, that's on the silver.
This is going to be a fun social experiment. I'm going to go to the base. I'm going to write some numbers down. Oh, BGS 10 black. It's 40. Actually, if you want to get a Zion base card, the BGS black label, there's pop count of 43. That's a legitimate card, right?
So you want to discuss
having a look at it
base
because they're talking about this list. But I was actually going through all the different gradings.
That's fine.
43 there. I'm totally fine. I'm going to take it. I'm going to take away black? The 43 that are BGS blacks because they're going for $2,500, and they're BGS blacks. They're black labels. It's not the easiest gradings to get. The population is bugger all. SGC, there's only 370 of them, which is fine. PSA 9, there are 17,602.
Can I interrupt you for 2 seconds? Have you seen the price difference between a BGS 10 and a PSA 10? So the BGS 10 base is selling for $335, and the PSA 10 is selling for $71.
Wow.
That is a complete opposite market reversal.
BGS 10 is different though. What's the pop count on that? 680. So between the BGS 9.5, the PSA 9, and the PSA 10, where's my calculator? This is going to be interesting. So we've got 9,957 plus 17,602 PSA 9 plus 22,860 PSA 10s. There are over 50,000.
This is riveting.
50,419 Zion base cards that are considered gem mint, which is PSA 9 or 10, and BGS 9.5.
I think gem mint is 10 and gem is...
But on the gem mint reports, actually Ryan can clarify that for us, but 9 and above, 9, 9.5 and 10 gradings, there are over 50,000.
It's not super collectible, is it? Or it is collectible, it's not super rare. That's probably the correct word.
They're not difficult to find. Look, and I granted, the black label, that's difficult to find. Actually, an SGC one's going to be difficult to find too. Their pop counts are 377. Last sold $33 though. Anyway. Final thoughts? It was nice to really take it out of Zion instead of Luka for a change.
I'm disappointed in you,
I can go through the same numbers for Luka if you want.
I thought you were going to...
Luka...
I thought you were going to slam Luka after the first 2 preseason games.
It's when he plays his best basketball in the preseason.
I was waiting for like a Stephen A. Smith like rant from you, to be honest.
He's okay for now. I'll leave my scathing reviews for the real season. All right, now I'm up to Luka. What do we got?
Alrighty, no, we got to call it quits, man. It's an hour and 15. No one's going to be listening.
Anyone that's listening that would like to know the deep dive on Luka's base card stats, hit me up.
We can do it in episode 110, man. We can kick off with it. It's fine. I'll let you have the floor.
Perfect. There's more different grades for Luka as well. Might have to do a bit more research.
I don't know, you're primed for this. We've finally found something that you're like primed to talk about.
How much trash there is in the market. There's even.
All right, I'm putting in the sheet as we speak.
Nah, we're not at 50,000 with Luka. It's not as impressive. It's over 40 though, I think. Anyway, 9 and above. Brilliant.
Thanks everyone for listening. Thank you, Adam. It was a lovely evening again.
Good to have some NBA to watch, some actual games. There'll be more games this week, so yeah. Next week, let's start sort of breaking that stuff down. That'll be good. See you all next week.
Alrighty, mate. Thanks everyone.
Farewell.
Bye-bye.